Hey peeps, this is Jared from Strong Style Gaming, and we're going to go over some impressions of the latest build of Starforge 0.90. Some pretty significant changes have happened, and we're going to start the first with navigation stuff. There is a coordinate system now. A lot of us have been complaining and bitching and moaning about no coordinate system, no way of orienting oneself to the world. That is no longer the case. We now have cardinal directions. It's very Elder Scrolls Skyrim-ish like. There's, major points or major features are located on the compass. North, south, east, west, all that good jazz. We now have sonar and radar capabilities to show, who's in the vicinity, if there's any enemies or other players in the vicinity. So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to playing with that a lot, actually. There are also more harvestable resources that are non-NPC based, such as wheat and mushrooms and crystals. This affects the loot tree tables, too, of the NPCs. One thing I will say quickly regarding the loot tables is I'm still not a big fan of finding, like armor and ingots and blueprints on NPCs. So I'm hoping this is a temporary thing. I think it's much more logical. It adheres to the lore more if more hard loot is found in, say, spaceship drops, like canisters in the spaceship, in crates and whatnot. That to me seems much more logical, and it gives a person an excuse to go explore too. So if you're not finding these things in monsters, it forces you to explore little nooks and crannies of the map to find the crates and the loot and whatnot. Some other things, they've made some tweaks to the ground pounder, so it's no longer OP. You can no longer one-shot someone charging at him. Oh yeah, by the way, for those of you who do not know, damage is calculated, I believe, with momentum. So it's kind of like old school Quake 3, where you could charge at someone with like a chain gun, and it actually does more damage. So in Starforge, charge someone, does more damage, you retreat, does less damage. So yeah, just a bit of a tip there, let you know what's up. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, the ground pounder. Thank you. So the ground pounder has been nerfed. No longer one shot someone. It actually takes quite a few hits. I think when I was just killing dudes who had logged out, I think it was taking like 7 or 6 or so hits. It does, however, also remove more land now. I don't think gathering tables have been tweaked much. It looks like there's the same amount or near about same amount of material is gathered. It does seem more efficient though, in terms of like it doesn't miss hits, I guess, as much. I guess I could say that. I don't know how else to say it. Oh yeah, the VAT system, they have tweaked the VAT system a bit, and they are basically loot zones. So periodically loot will be available in the VATs. It acts like a chest, basically. You go up to it, you activate it like a chest. You can grab some loot out of it. So that's kind of cool. I'm not sure how that's going to play out gameplay-wise. I'm kind of curious. I'll have to put some time into that. All of us will. See if you can like camp out or how that's all going to work. We'll see, though. We'll see. They've also added a significant amount of creatures. They've added, they added the Prowler last update, but now they've added the Belcher and the Beetle. And the Belcher is basically, the Belcher and Beetle are passive. However, the Belcher does get agitated if you are near him or attack him. It's kind of a defense mechanism. Basically skunks you like a bomb skunk thing going off. I'm glad they're introducing more NPCs, though. It's really cool. And what's even cooler about it, I think, is that I'm noticing that certain NPCs are only in certain biomes. And this is something I was really hoping for way early on. Once we started getting some more consistent landforms, I was like, man, it'd be great if like these different biomes had different critters and species in them. And sure enough, that's what's happening. So, for instance, the Beetle I've noticed really only in caves and rocky environments, whereas the Belcher seems to be only in the rock desert. And the new ecosystem that was added, they added a new system, the Alien Forest. That's pretty cool. I kind of wish it had more illuminance at nighttime. I still feel like it's kind of stark and drab. I think it'd be nice to have a bit more lighting in there. I'm not talking like Avatar lighting, but just something a bit more vibrant, I think would be great. So maybe that can be tweaked. But it's interesting because it looks really cool. And this used to be a very sterile biome. If you remember just a build before, it was the build that was just rock land, like very geometric rock landscapes with the black and blue swirly rock textures. And this is what it is now. And I'm kind of hoping this is a foreshadowing of other biomes to get adjusted. For instance, we really have two desert biomes. We have the sandy, light-colored desert biome, which I think right now is quite functional and really the only place you need to be. I feel like it kind of takes dominance over all the other biomes in terms of functionality and what you get from it. But regardless, the other one is the red rock biome. And I feel like they're too similar, and I feel like maybe perhaps the red rock will get a facelift, just like the Alien Forest one did, and it'll be a bit more distinct. It's kind of what I'm hoping for. It's kind of what I'm expecting. Right now, it seems like the Belcher is really the only place that it shows up is in that red rock biome. So that's pretty cool. So it kind of gives some insight onto kind of what they're doing in terms of organizing these and the critters and the biomes and where they plan to go forward. What I will say is that there is still the pie shape of the biomes, and this is a very logical, it's a very literal logical system of bringing together all the gameplay elements and confining them so that all players aren't spread out. I completely understand it from a gameplay perspective. Right now, the biomes are structured for a means that caters to pure function, pure gameplay function. Some people have been complaining that the game is too arena-like. I kind of describe the multiplayer as arena survival. So basically, you have to survive the NPCs and other players who are trying to loot you and raid you, but it's done so within kind of like a pseudo confinement. So while you have resources in a general area, the further out you go, those resources become a little bit more transparent and less apparent until you get out to the periphery and there's no more resources. Now, there is an option now to have infinite terrain. You can have the prisoner barrier be as wide as you want it to be. I mean, I've put it up where I've just traveled out, and I've gotten bored just traveling out so far. I think part of that boredom is due to the fact that the biomes are in a pie shape now, and that they do not represent our own inherent understanding of how biological systems and natural systems work, because they're not feeding into each other. So it's not like you go up to a mountain and then to the top of the mountain where it's snow-capped, then you get down at the bottom of the mountain where it's a rain shadow, and then a desert, and then a karst landscape transitioning back into prairie lands. And that's one thing I liked about older versions, like I say, particularly around 5.5 and 5, is that you had these meandering prairies surrounded by dense forest, and that was logical. As human beings, we get that. Oh, this makes sense from a structure, from a landscape structure standpoint. This makes sense. So what I'm hoping is that they kind of go back to that, or that they allow the user to define that kind of a system and a structure, because that was really cool. And right now, it's really functional, and you can do some amazing things in terms of crafting and building now. And while the biomes themselves have much more life in them, it's just it just doesn't have the structure that you would expect. And so that's kind of jarring, and I think it kind of pulls you out of the immersion a bit. Despite how much more content it's having, there's just these innate understandings we have of how the world works, and it's not being represented in the game world. Having said that, like I say, I expect it to change. It's been said before that they're going to allow the user to tweak it to do what they want, and so we'll see how it happens. That's just my thoughts on it. As always, give a thumbs up, thumbs down, let me know what's going on, and as always, keep playing strong, peeps.